Hello and welcome. I'm your host, author Ryan M. Oliver, and this is the Mighty Books Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Mighty Books Podcast. Today with me, I have M.K. McDaniel. She goes by Kathy. Kathy, how are you today?
I am doing great. Glad to be on
Awesome.
your show.
I'm glad to have you. So we're here to talk about your book and your experiences today. What's the title of your book?
The title is Misfit in Hell to Heaven Expat. It's a memoir.
It's a memoir. And what now I know it outlines a specific experience in your life. Could you kind of synopsize that for us?
Well, yeah, I was a good Catholic girl and I grew up all over the United States since my dad was in the Navy. We traveled a lot. And as I got older, I got my own business. I ran a real estate property management business in Santa Cruz, California.
Hmm.
And then got a call from my former fiance, my best friend, and he was told he had leukemia. He was
Mm.
only 53 and he had to go up to Seattle to the Fred Hutch Research Hospital and try and they were going to try and make a guinea pig out of him to see if they could save his life. And
Mm.
he needed a couple caregivers and asked if I'd go. So I
Okay.
said, sure. I looked up on the map where Washington was, and I thought thought it was below Oregon. Geography was not my strong suit.
Sure.
Anyway, I found my way up to Seattle, found us a place to stay near the hospital. We were supposed to be there a couple of months, and it turned into almost 9 months. And this included very little sleep, a lot of trauma,
Mm.
a lot of going back and forth from the hospital. He'd get better, he'd get worse. And then he died. And it
Oh.
just broke my heart. I was physically, emotionally, and spiritually a wreck.
Hmm.
And went to Gig Harbor to visit some friends and loved it. And decided I'd move there. But in the meantime, I had an apartment in Silverdale, which is nearby.
Hmm.
And I got sick one night. Boy, I had a cough that wouldn't quit, and I was up on the third floor with no elevator, so it was hard getting up and down those stairs, especially when you can't breathe. So I
Yeah.
called a friend that I'd been dating for a few months and said, I'm getting kind of scared here. I just went to cough and I got blood spurted out all over the mirror and the sink, and that can't be good. So he drove. He was out of town on a job. Drove, picked me up, took me down to a dock in the box, and by the time we got to the parking lot, I started feeling like my life force was like settling down into my
Oh.
feet, and I thought, oh no. So I tried to open the door. Last thing I remembered was I thought I was screaming, I'm dying, but I guess I was whispering. And I passed out right into the parking lot, and he came around, slammed on the brakes, and came around and picked me up and took me inside, yelling, help, help. And they couldn't find a pulse and got an ambulance and finally got me to Harrison Hospital. And they stuck me in ICU, put me on oxygen, called my family from California and Colorado and said, this is one sick puppy here. You better come out and say goodbye. So they showed up, and that's when I came out. They reduced the medication I was on, and I'm laying there thinking, what, WTF, folks? I mean, what happened? I was just minding my own business. Now I'm in this hospital, and they said, well, you've got something called ARDS. That's acute respiratory distress syndrome, and that's lung failure.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's a syndrome, so we can't treat you with antibiotics, and we're not sure what to do. So we're going to put you into a drug-induced coma and throw the book at you. And
Oh
we don't
man.
want you to know what we're doing because you're better off out. So, again, I'm kind of going, oh my Lord. And the family saying, Kathy, that's your only, chance.
Yeah.
So I said goodbye to everybody, and the doctor said, well, one more thing, we're gonna put you out with this drug, and it's gonna take your brain offline. Okay, you won't be able to remember anything. So don't worry. Ha, very funny. We'll either wake you up or we won't. And
Oh
so
my.
I said bye to everybody and went out.
Wow.
And then I woke up.
Wow.
And that's where my story starts. My
And that's just the beginning. That's
That
insane.
was just the like, oh,
Jeez.
what is going on? Yeah, you get into the
Wow.
play. Most people that have the NDEs end up in the void first. I consider it the waiting room because you kind of go from one experience to another, and it's completely dark. It's completely quiet. There's no movement. You can't tell if you're sitting or standing. The one thing that's really different is you don't know you're dead.
Mm,
Because our spirit is who we are. Just because we get out of our body, we're still the same.
right.
It's like getting out of your car. You're not your car. Um, so I'm just kind of hanging out. And oh boy, it was quite a while, and I had no clock or anything, and I was wondering, well, what am I? And all of a sudden, it started getting a little brighter,
Yeah.
and I thought, okay, but it was kind of foggy, and it was like there was this dim reddish glow to it, and
Yeah.
I thought that was strange. But then I started hearing people screaming and moaning, and it got pretty hot and very uncomfortable. Something really smelled bad, and I thought, where am I? And out of the fog came this voice that said, "Do you know where you are? Give me a minute.
Yeah, I got a couple guesses.
What the hell?" And then this maniacal laugh that scared the you know what out of me boomed out of this fog, and I just turned and ran, not knowing what else to do. And then that's when it got weird. So that I
Wait,
I don't
now it's
generally
getting
I
weird?
don't gen
Okay.
I don't generally
Okay.
do the whole thing. It's quite lengthy. I did not have
Okay.
like a watch. Like I said, on the
Yeah.
other side, it's always now. There's no time, so it's
There's no
always just
tomorrow.
now.
No, yes.
You
Yeah.
can't tell how long you've been somewhere. That's it. It was just that I had these segments that happened, and I've talked to a lot of people who have had the distressing near-death experiences, and most of them have had these surprising, weird segments. People that have the immediate blast into heaven don't usually have that. They have immediately they're talking to people or they're seeing something or having some strange experience that's wonderful.
Right.
But the DNDEs are a different animal. Uh, there was a lot of the first segment I had, I just it was pitch dark, of course, and then the lights came on like way too bright, like you're on a set somewhere, and you stop and you look around, you're afraid to move, you don't know what to expect, and but in this first one there was a bombed out city. It was huge, and New York or something, like they dropped a bomb or something terrible had happened, an earthquake maybe, and um, the windows were blown out of the buildings. A lot of them had fallen over, big, big, big chunks of concrete with rebar sticking up, and it was smoky and darkish, and there was things moving around. You couldn't tell if it was people or what, and um, weird scraping sounds on the rocks, like some big machine was going by, or aliens. What's going on? And I just knew I probably needed to get inside a building because I felt very exposed, and I thought maybe there's some more people. So as I traversed this wreckage, I tried to get up over a piece of concrete, and I lost my handhold and fell backwards. And I thought, oh man, this is going to hurt. And then the lights went out, and then the lights came up. I know, one after the other, and each got worse. Finally, the lights came on one time, and I'm like looking at the belly button of some great big huge demon. Looked kind of like a yeti,
Creature. Oh,
but
wow.
ugly
I
and big stick, and was not in a good humor. And I thought, now what? So
Yeah.
I just stared and he said, "You want to get out of here?" And I thought, holy cow, that was in perfect English. I kind of thought he'd growl or something. And and I says, "Yes, I do." And he says, "Well, you do me a favor, just one thing, and I'll see to it that you get out." And I'm thinking, uh-huh.
This sounds too good to be
What's the
true.
catch? What
Right.
nothing so far has been pleasant up to this point. What's going on? So he just waved his arm and the lights came up, and as far as I could see was blackberry bushes. If you live in the Pacific Northwest, you know that that's a forest of thorns, and there's very little room between
Mm.
these things. And my mouth dropped. And he says, "You just cut that down for me, will you? And then I'll see you get out of here." I looked at him and I said, "Right." And handed me these paper cutting scissors that they give children in kindergarten and said, "Go for it." And I thought, yeah, expletive. And
Right, right, right.
I want to get out. So I knelt down and I started to gnaw on this one cane that was quite, the size of a
Big.
quarter.
Yeah.
Finally got it cut, went to put it behind me. And then when I turned around, it grew back, all 20 feet of it. And I looked up at my friend here and he's belly laughing. He thinks this is really funny. And I didn't. So I thought, well, I'll show him. I'm not a quitter. I want out. And so I leaned back down to cut and the lights went out. And then the lights came up. In between these very unpleasant scenes, and they got worse. And I can come back with some sense of humor now that it's been 25 years. At
Sure.
the time, it was not at all amusing. But I found myself sometimes in between on this road, and it just stretched endlessly left and right. No signs, of course. No, nothing. I mean, it went out to the horizon. It looked like the worst desert you'd ever seen. There was just rocks,
Hmm.
and there was like this reddish glow at the horizon, like maybe a fire was coming over, and no stars. I took a right, just because I was going on the highway, right? So I walked. I could walk for very long distances on this dirt road. But the nice thing, there was nothing. Um, the nice thing was I felt like I was safer, that I could had this 360 view around me so nothing could creep up on me.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I did start coming to like little scenarios on one side of the road or the other. Um, I had a strange experience in that most people don't see living people in these sorts of things, but I saw some relatives of mine that I saw in doing particularly strange jobs. And then when I got back, I thought, oh, I'm supposed to tell these people that they need to beware of this action, what they're doing in their lives, because it will end well. Well,
Okay.
that's difficult to do when you get back and say, "Hey, I saw you in hell." As a real icebreaker, and you need to really reconsider this sort of thing in your life. The two people I did tell, both relatives, one we had quite a little tiff about that and never spoke to each other again. The other one was a younger person who was in a very bad relationship, didn't know how to get out.
Yeah.
The information I gave her, she said a year later when she was getting divorced, "Aunt Kathy, if you hadn't given me that strange advice when you did, it wouldn't have clicked that you were absolutely right. And I
Yeah.
had to get out of that terrible situation. So thanks for telling me." So 50-50, it worked
Mm.
out. But again, it got worse and worse as I wandered. If anybody's interested, the book is very detailed. Um, if you've got the guts. And so I finally got to what I didn't know was going to be the last episode, but it was. And it was, let me just summarize this. Let's see, this was a bunch of sexually abused women that were now in the middle of Alaska, someplace, waiting in a horrible cabin for customers, we were
Yeah.
told.
Right.
I know it was just like, how low can you go? And again, I didn't know when I was going to get out. There was a demon lady in charge of us there that I kept harassing, and finally I said, "You know what? This is a particularly nasty day in what this place is, wherever it is. Is there some reason for that? And she says, well, it's Christmas on Earth. That's always the worst day in hell. And I said, hell? And she just looked at me, and I thought, well, now it's falling into place, but I'm not happy about this situation.
Right, right.
And I'm not supposed to be here. Darn it, my whole life I've been taught if I do X, Y, and Z, this would not be happening to me. So now
Yeah.
I'm mad. And I thought, well, I know how to get her goat. I'll start singing a Christmas carol. So I did. And all of us ladies were sitting on this floor in this drafty cabin. And I just started with Away in a Manger. And I don't sing well, but I can sing loud. And the other ladies were shocked. And the demon lady turned around and said, shut up.
Hmm.
And so I thought, aha, I got her. So I just kept singing, Away in a Manger, no crib for his bed, the little Lord. And I got to that point, and she shrieked, scared me, jumped at me. I closed my eyes. I thought, well, at least I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to open my eyes and I'll be, boom. Now all of a sudden it's bright light, beautiful bright light. It's sparkling, it's gorgeous. I'm tumbling in it. This feeling of joy and bliss and love is just overwhelming. A human body could not take this sort of joy. You'd
Right.
burst like a
Yeah.
balloon.
Mm.
And everything else had disappeared in my mind. I could remember nothing. I was just enjoying this great, great, great experience. And as it started to settle out to like it was becoming more not solid, but something of substance. And it
Sure.
appeared that I was in some huge, large room, maybe made of white marble or something, and but still this exquisite joy. And it as it got lighter, I looked up, and oh my gosh, not 15 feet away was my friend that had just died the month before. And dying of leukemia is not pretty. I
No.
mean, he lost his hair, he was swollen and purple, and now he
Oh,
looked great. He wasn't 53, he was 35 if he was a day, and his gray hair was now brown again. He was wearing a sweater I gave him for Christmas. I mean, he was happy. He was jumping from one foot to the other with this look on his face like, I know something you don't know.
yeah.
I thought, oh my goodness. I stopped and looked, and I thought I remembered something. And I looked over to the right, and I saw this big table with a huge book opened about halfway. And I thought, well, now he was showing me something in that book. And I remember saying, oh no, that's going to be too hard. I want to stay here with you. And I looked back at him, and he's kind of shaking his head. And I said, he's hearing what I'm saying, and he doesn't know he's dead. And now he's laughing. And I thought, wait a minute, if he's dead, gee, duh.
What does
Light
that
bulb
make
goes
me?
on.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
dead.
Yeah.
I'm dead. I'm in heaven. I'm with my best friend. This is great. I says, what the heck? And why are we standing here? Show me something. Come on, let's go. And he got a little closer, and he goes, now, Mary Kay, you got too much left to do. I thought, what? They're throwing me out? I said, no, no. And he's got a big grin on his face. What kind of power do you have, girl?
Hmm.
And back I went, and I opened my eyes. It went dark. I opened my eyes, and now, oh my gosh, it's too hot. The lights are too bright. There's people milling around. I can't move. And I think, I'm back
That
in
you're
hell.
back. Yeah.
I was terrified. And one of the people turned around and said, oh, mom's back. And I said, what? Yeah, I couldn't say anything. There was stomach, I had the trach in my throat.
Oh
I
my
couldn't
God.
talk. I had a nasal tube. I was on oxygen, and I had gotten down to 86 pounds because of the loss of muscle mass with me just
Jeez.
I had nothing but literally skin and bones. I couldn't move anything. Next day, the doctor tried to get to see how much I had. I could wiggle one finger and blink. That was it.
Oh my
50
gosh.
52 years old. And they're telling me you've been in a coma. Oh my God, we almost lost you. My mom says, oh, we had a prayer circle going around the world. We brought you back. And I thought, if I could talk, woman, I would be so furious that you brought me back.
I
I
did
will
that.
get you for this, but I couldn't say it. Thank goodness. That would have been very rude. But
Right.
I thought it. And I thought, how am I going to get all this you got left to do, Kathy, done when you can't breathe? You can't move. You can't talk. What kind of sick joke is this?
Yeah.
So, needless to say, I was not happy. And it took, oh, wow. I was in a total of a month in ICU. I had to really argue when I finally got that thing out of my throat and
Right.
talk a little bit. I had to argue with the insurance people to give me a month in rehab. Otherwise, I was just going to go to a convalescent hospital and be a vegetable. So they did. They gave me a month at a local Puyallup, Good Sam Hospital. I did rehab for a full month, just learning all this stuff all over again. Walking, oh, walking was way down the line, crawling, turning over, learning how to swallow, like a baby.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't go up and down steps. I forgot how, everything. So that was a month, and they made me work really hard because the insurance company had to have a report every week if I didn't stay up to what their expectations were
Yeah.
meant. And then finally, long story short, I got out and didn't know what to do with that. I was terrified
That
of going
experience.
back.
Yeah.
I thought, again, that whole Catholic thing, why did that happen to me? That's just not, that's wrong. Um, so it took, oh God, to get well, it took a full year to be able to walk a certain distance that I set for myself, to be able to drive a car, they said I'd never work again. They still didn't know if I was brain damaged and all that. So started writing out what happened to me. I thought because it wouldn't go away.
Yeah.
They kept saying, you'll forget, you'll forget. Well, I wasn't. Everything was just as clear as when it happened. And
Hmm.
so I would write it out, stick it in a drawer, and I think, okay, one of these days it's just going to be just like a dream.
Yeah.
10 years later, it's still that way. My therapist said, sorry, I just put PTSD on your chart. I don't know what to tell you. And so I found this
Mhm.
group through a series of synchronicities called IANDS, IANDS, that started in Seattle, of all places, 40 years ago, that has thousands of people that belong all over the world that have had near-death experiences. I got up to a couple of meetings and, it was puppies and rainbows and angels and stuff. I thought, no, it's not quite what happened to me. And so
No.
they convinced me to tell my story, which I did not want to get up and embarrass myself, shame myself in front of all 100 people showed up.
Oh
I had
wow.
everything but popcorn. It was the monthly meeting, and we don't get to hear these distressing ones. They only happen, maybe 8, 10% of the time, and nobody will talk about them. And I says, yeah, I wonder why.
It's distressing. Yeah.
Yeah, who wants to admit they went to hell? So anyway, I did tell the story. They were on the edge of their seats when we all got at the end, and we all got out. Everybody clacked, and then I became the hell girl. If anybody had a distressing near-death experience, send them to Kathy. So that was my claim to fame there for a
Hell
while.
girl.
Yeah, and
Make a
then
hell of a comic book. I'll just say that.
yes,
Anyway.
I think it's Hellboy, but I
They had
am not my
Hellboy,
mom to
right?
meet him. Um,
Yeah.
but I started processing all this, and what happened is I finally went to one of the conferences, which are anybody can go, and they're fabulous.
Yeah.
Once a year they have them. There's this year, I think we had 700, 800, 900 people, I think, show up
You.
in one place. And
Wow.
it's such energy there because it's so positive. Once you've been dead and you've been to heaven, you're not scared of death anymore. You look forward to
You know
it.
what to
You
expect.
want to get your work done so you can go home.
Yeah.
That's what heaven is our real home.
Right.
And so it really helped me to find a few more of these people. I through IANS, I have a monthly group for the people with the distressings. We get together, and almost everybody, like I say, has had these segments. What I've come to know from speaking to people who've been studying this a long time, who have had these experiences, is that um, God is all loving, all forgiving, and would never condemn anybody. Okay, then what happened? I manifested it. I was told my whole life that I would go to purgatory when I died, and there wasn't one, so I made one. And this is pretty much what people with the DNDs do. They expect to go to a place of punishment because their religions told them that.
Yeah.
And there isn't one unless you make it. And I believe, and from what, there's quite a group of us now. If you go and stay, if you die and you don't come back,
Right.
you don't have this experience. This is something that we've chosen to do. We all choose our lives. There's multiple reincarnations. I've learned a lot from all these, formerly dead people. All over the world, they come back with the same stories. Nobody deviates at all out of different cultures or atheists it's love. God is love and God is forgiveness.
Mm.
And what we do here on earth, we'll get to see in a life review, but there's never any judgment. It's only just to say, okay, I said I was going to go learn patience. For me, it's got to be patience, man, because there are a lot of things in my life demand that I learn that. But
It is a
also
virtue.
that you want to learn and you come down with your soulmates, you switch roles every now and then. Um, like with you and I, we obviously knew each other, and so we said, oh, "Look, I'm going to be busy. I'll be, why don't we get together for an hour?
Hmm.
We'll touch base and we'll say hi, and then when we get back up there, we'll, when we party and get in, well,
Yeah.
hi, wasn't that fun? Well, there's people that you meet all the time that you say, "Gosh, don't I know you? I
Yeah.
just know I've met you." So that's usually a sign.
Hmm.
But we live, we die, we go up, we get to see our life review. It's like a movie. You get to see, oh, I do great there, or ooh, could have done a little
That's
better
interesting.
there. They turn it around, and then you get to feel like it was to interact with you.
Hmm.
So now this is where the rubber meets the road. So if you've been a pretty snarky, selfish, terrible type person, you
Right.
are going to get to feel how it felt to interact with you, and you get to experience that, not as a punishment,
Yeah.
just as realization that there's karma out there. You put that
Yes.
out and you're going to get it back. Likewise, you've been a pretty good person, maybe not all your life, maybe the last part of your life. You're kind, you're gentle, you help people out. You get to feel that reward of good feelings that you emanated from these people.
Right.
So that's it. And then you're there for a while if you want to come back, if you get bored or want to go someplace else. And there are, look at all the galaxies out there, folks, not just Earth. You want to be a quote alien, go for it. Go someplace else. Plus, as I'm told, I wasn't there long enough. There's universities, there's schools, there's places. Heaven is, you know, big. So there's nothing to fear about death, nothing at all. Look forward to
So
it.
when you were in the coma, how long were you asleep in the coma for?
Almost 3 weeks. I think they
Three
said
weeks.
right around
Okay.
19 days there was totally.
Okay. And so when having these experiences, it was not purgatory, it was hell and or heaven.
No, it was my own manifestation of what I thought it would be. And I
Okay.
took experiences that happened in my
Okay.
life. The first scene was the earthquake. I was in the earthquake of 89 in Santa Cruz. The town fell down.
Oh, wow.
There's people screaming and running. There were fires, and it was terrifying. So you take your own worst experiences and you make your own hell.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, because it's a little harder for us to understand
Sure. It
certain
took
things
me
that,
20 years. So,
yeah, 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 yeah.
20, yeah. So, yeah, 20 years to figure that out, only by talking to other people who would say, wait a minute, I had segments too. And yeah, there is no hell. I mean, there's definitely negative energy. Okay, you got
Oh,
positive energy,
100%.
you got negative, but that's not God's doing. That's just the way it is. And
Yep.
so on the other side, we assume that there's also a place for that negative energy,
Hmm.
and like attracts. So if those entities, spirits, don't want to be congenial, if they
Hmm.
like being naughty, if they like darkness, we've got free will. You're perfectly free
Yeah.
to go join that crowd wherever it is. I
Wherever it
don't want to
is.
even think about what that place is,
Right.
but God didn't make it. So if you choose that sort of thing, and you can always change your mind. Maybe you hang out with those people or the souls for a while and it's like,
Yeah.
well, really no fun at all.
Mm.
The angels are there, I'm told,
Mhm.
get you out,
Right.
put you where you belong.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
it's a choice. It's all about free will. It really boils down to that.
Hey, all. If you've made it this far on purpose and enjoyed yourself, consider joining the Mighty Books Podcast Patreon. There, you get mighty benefits like early access to new episodes, exclusive members only content, and even free audiobooks. It's a great way to enjoy more insightful interviews, fun conversations, and more mighty stories. Finally, it supports the show so I can continue to deliver top-notch content to you, my mighty listeners. Thanks again for everything, and as always, stay mighty and keep reading. So, in your experience and your goings on with talking with all these people and comparing experiences, would you say that the culmination, the destination where you end up really is the culmination of your behavior on Earth? As in, if you, let's say you were made a lot of bad choices when you were a kid up until, let's just say your 40s, just to throw it out there. And the last 30, 40 years of your life, you're like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm dedicating myself to being a good person, doing well unto others, loving people. How would that have people like had weird experiences where there's kind of this cross between heaven and hell? Like what have you heard? I guess would be my a quick
There,
question.
it doesn't matter. You can't go wrong on this planet because you're just experiencing.
Okay,
There's no
okay.
right and wrong per se
Yeah,
because we're just experiencing. But you're gonna get a life review that's going to give you back the joy and the pain that you've given
yeah.
others. That
A
you get,
life
like
review. I like that.
Hitler's probably still halfway through his life review. He
Oh,
gets to feel all the pain he inflicted on those people, their families.
oh,
So that's the payback. He chose that life.
yeah.
He could have taken his free will and gone another direction,
Could
but
have.
he decided to play it out. And God doesn't care. You've got free will. He gave it to you. So you are setting yourself up for the the feelings that you gave other people, and it has
Yeah.
God has nothing to do with it. And
Right.
if you it does, it's not a punishment. It's just understanding how
It sounds like checks
it,
and
it, it
balances.
people can't understand it. I couldn't understand it, especially
No.
being a Catholic, thou shalt not. If you don't,
Right.
accept Jesus, you're going to, it's not true, none of it.
Yeah.
All of us, I would say most of us that come back become spiritual, not religious,
Yeah.
because the religion thing doesn't ring true anymore.
Well, see, that's the thing with me for real, because my family grew up Catholic, and then I mean, there's a smattering of Lutheranism and other
Oh, yeah.
isms and
Yeah,
whatnot, right?
yeah.
And so, yeah, the spirituality thing just makes a little more sense. It's more like for me, religion is like how our interpretation, humans' interpretation of the Word of God or something way beyond our perception. So like when you look at different
Right.
religions, so I don't know, you said you've talked to a lot of people going to these conferences and different meetings. Have you talked to people from different religions who've had similar experiences?
Oh yeah, everybody has the same, they're
That's
if
so
they're
cool.
they're from India, they're from Japan,
Yeah.
they all come back with the same message. God's all loving and forgiving. This is just school. This is Earth
Yeah.
school. You choose to come down here, and of all the places, I'm told this is the toughest. This is
Yeah.
the darkest, densest place you can go. It's for brave souls only. So
Hmm.
consider yourself brave to have chosen to come down here and learn these difficult lessons on
Right.
this beautiful planet that's
Right.
full of crazy people. um,
So many.
we chose it, and I don't know. There must be some sort of a stamp or a badge or something. You get back, people say, "Oh my God, you went to Earth. Ooh,
Yeah.
what
Like
was
a
that
war
like?"
medal or something.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
we have to lighten up. we have to lighten up. This is just an experience that's very short. We chose it.
Yeah.
When we get home, we'll have a good laugh.
Yeah.
Uh, it's so wonderful over there. You cannot imagine it. This this is tough duty down here, but that's that's what I'm here to tell people. Don't be afraid. You can't screw it up. The
Yeah.
worst that happens is you understand what it felt like to be with you
Hmm. Hmm.
and if you've got a chance to do it over again, um you still might choose something difficult. There's
Yeah.
people that really, that like motorcycle gangs and stuff, but we're all kind of that. Anybody on earth chose to come here, and we're the tough ones.
We're the tough ones. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's the whole experience sounds incredibly overwhelming, and must have been absolutely like it must have been like a different kind of hell when you woke up and you're like, I can't express myself and try to begin to make sense of what I just went through. And then it sounded like you were almost in an earthbound purgatory where you were literally stuck in your body that was currently frail from being down and sick for how long, then to get the energy and the strength to get to where you are now, that's a huge undertaking in itself. I mean, just with you telling the story, I could tell you were getting, choked up even talking about when you got to heaven. It's like it's still such an impactful story. And on you, it must be just wild that these
Conventions.
yeah, conventions, just the amount of
Oh, I
energy,
can't tell you the energy, and everybody is so happy,
the
and they're
positivity.
happy to
Yeah.
see you. They're happy. Everybody understands what it's like and why
Yeah.
you're here. And the worst part of all, you're there three days, four. Everybody comes early and stays late, and then you have to go
You have to
back to your
leave.
life, and everybody's in near tears. I don't want to go back. I want to stay here. It's this little slice of heaven.
Yeah.
So we go back, trudge back into our lives, and
Yeah.
put on the calendar when the next one's going to be. Next time we're going to Chicago. Yuck, Chicago. Great. Can't wait.
Yeah,
You know,
let's go. Let's go. Well, you said it was interesting what you said when you were telling the story. It was like I know you said in hell, but maybe in heaven too. There's only a now. There's not a yesterday, there's not a
yeah,
tomorrow, there's a now. And it sounds like, when you're at your happiest, at least for me, I'm at my happiest when the clock doesn't matter anymore. When
right.
the people you're with are, that's enough.
Yeah,
When you're there telling stories, being silly, reminiscing,
yeah,
and it's just that time that the hours fly by, going to the zone. If you're working on something you love,
yeah.
that to me is bliss.
It
And it sounds
is.
like that's what it is at these conventions.
Yeah, just oh God, yes, it really is. And like I say, people from all over the world are there, and it's just we at the dance, we had a dance at the last part of it, and
Oh, cool.
everybody's there. The guy from India is doing all kinds of strange things, and we had it was just a blast. It
That's
was
so
you could just
cool.
all these souls, all these happy souls. I think another thing that really is important is to understand that we put on these human body disguises. It's like Halloween. All our souls look exactly the same. They're all just balls of light. And you can make yourself look like this or whatever you want to do. Most people look about 35 years old. But when you get back, you look at somebody and they're dark skinned or they're from, some other place, and you think that was a great disguise. I like that disguise. But inside, I know that soul looks exactly like me, all the same
Hmm.
color, all made up the same thing. So you look at humans differently. I think you
Hmm.
lose a lot of your discrimination because that's just a costume.
Yeah, it's just a costume.
And they've chosen to be in a different culture. They've chosen and to meet up with you.
Hmm.
And that's fun because especially at these things where you know what I know.
Yeah.
And um, I don't know. I
Shared
was taught
experience.
when I came back, I said, God, I was still a wreck. I said, look, these thou shalt nots have not worked for me. I need something positive and I need it now.
Hmm.
So God, in his infinite, he said, I'll give you two at a time. Your mind's still a mess. So it was be loving and kind,
Yes. Well,
merciful and forgiving,
hmm.
encouraging,
Yep.
grateful,
Yeah.
non-judgmental, and useful.
Yeah.
And that's seared in my soul. I can't remember what I had for breakfast or where I left my keys, but that's always right there. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's always there. And if you can't remember all that, it's just loving and
Okay.
kind.
Yeah. I
And then when you look
100%
in
agree
the
with that.
mirror, I'm going to be loving and kind today.
Yes, absolutely. That's all that we've been taught as kids. Like that's what my mother tried to instill with us. That's what we try to instill with our kids. That's really what it is, but boils down to is just can you be nice to people? I
Yeah.
mean, that's really what how can you better someone's day, even if something's small? What can you give to them to help them out? And then hopefully that we'll receive in kind. So I mean, and it's interesting that you talked about like balls of light, the souls of the balls of light, and it threw my brain towards. I'm a big fan of astronomy, astrophysics. I'm not an
Mm.
expert by any means, barely knowledgeable. I can understand maybe a sentence or two, but a couple of us, astrophysicists I've talked to, I wish I've listened to, have said we're all just born of stardust. Yes, of course, they're speaking from a purely scientific point of view. But when
Mhm.
you think about it, especially from the experiences of not just one person, but tens, millions, tens of thousands, millions of people who've gone through life experiences through the ages, it kind of makes sense. Like, okay, we're from the stardust, but we are kind of the souls seem to be a star themselves or just this expansive energy. And it's fun to see the kind of strings kind of tug at each other a little bit. It might
Mhm.
just be our understanding because we just can't wrap all that information into our tiny little brains.
Yeah, well,
We
we're
just
all
can't.
part of God. That's what a spirit is. And it's God experiencing God's self.
Yeah.
So when they know now about the dark matter and all that, and there's the even room between the photons, the dark stuff. What is that
Oh
stuff? Well,
yeah.
that's energy,
It's
and
all
God is
energy.
energy, and God is love. And
Yeah.
it's all God. Um, we're all connected.
Yes, that I absolutely agree with. We are all connected. Doesn't matter who you are. We're all connected. One pulls this way, this moves to that way as well, in equal opposite directions. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but it can be moved and transformed.
There you
They
go.
teach that, and when I was going through apprenticeship for being an electrician,
Hmm.
it makes sense in every other aspect, spirituality, science. It all kind of just does this to me. It all sounds like it is one and the same. We just have different terms for it.
That's
That's
right.
that's really all it
Absolutely.
is
It's
and how we
quite
experience
quite
it.
simple.
It
You
is, honestly, if you try to overcomplicate it, I think we miss the point. We start missing the point of it. Yeah. You said something kind of cool, and I just something that kind of triggered a memory from when I was very young. So people are experiencing their life like a movie.
hmm
So when I might have been 4 or 5. I remember having dreams of basically seeing myself or being this little kid watching myself in a TV of my grandmother's living room in Manette,
Oh,
Washington, watching myself go through my life.
wow.
Yeah, wild. I have no idea where it came from. I
Wow.
had dreams like this for years, and then they stopped at about age 9 or 10. So
Wow.
just bizarre. I'm like, that sounds interesting. So I had dreams like, well, I'm just sitting there enjoying, like, I have my popcorn and my drink, and I'm after school
Oh.
watching my grandma's in their room cooking something, and I'm eating by myself watching. It's on her big fat TV we had, from probably I think it was from like the late '70s. She had whatever, I don't know,
Mm.
but it was just kind of interesting. I'm like, I just need to say something back then.
That's called an STE. That's a spiritually transformative event.
I've never heard of
And
that.
yeah, children,
STE.
they're closer. See, they haven't been
Yes.
here as long.
Right.
They still have some abilities
Hmm.
that kind of get talked away from them, like the children that have the invisible friends.
Hmm.
Those are little angels.
Yeah, had those too.
Those are real. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. It's just kind of like making a little connect the dots while we're talking. I'm like, okay, that is too weird to not talk about. I have to
Well,
ask.
congratulations. That's
Yeah,
super.
yeah, it was just kind of cool. I'm like, I need to write that down or something. That's just kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
that's kind of. So how long has the book been out for?
2020. So,
Okay,
yeah, about 4.5 years. It's been very well received.
fabulous.
Yeah, and all over the planet. That's fun stuff. We were
That's so
talking
cool.
earlier, you and I, about, finding out your books in Japan and talk on podcasts. I've been on about 160
That's so
one
cool.
now today,
Yeah.
podcasts all over the world because when I was laying in that hospital bed and thinking, really, I can't go home until I've got too much left to do. And I remembered the book saying, oh no, that's going to be too hard. And how am I going to get, good grief. I live in Gig Harbor. And then some woman contacted me from New Zealand on an email and said, "Hi, I heard about you. I have a
Interesting.
podcast about NDEs, and I'd like to have you on it." And I said, "Oh, hon, I don't have the money to fly to New Zealand. No, 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 no. Let me explain Zoom." And so,
Zoom's a
she
magical thing.
yeah, okay, she's a little
Hmm.
older. But that's what it was. And I thought, so here I am talking to people all over the world.
That's cool.
And God knew that, and I
Hmm.
just had to take it on faith. And boom, I've had two podcasts, and I'm not bragging, this is just fact. Two of the, two have each over 1 million views.
No way. Good
Yeah, and it's
job.
growing. I keep checking back. I've got a chart on my wall, but the top 20. I mean, it's like 2.5 million easy. And
Good
that's
job.
how I had to just it was going to happen. I just had to show up. A lot
Yeah,
of times in life, you got to
that's
take that
key.
leap of faith.
Yeah,
It's all worked out.
yeah,
We say this a lot. It's all
we do.
good. All
It's all
good.
gonna
It's
work
all
out.
going to work out. And
Yeah.
because it does. It's
That's insane. Well, I love that, you talked about people who have experienced near-death experiences, their fear kind of
all
dips,
gone.
just
Yeah.
gone. And that's something that I know a lot of folks that I talk to, including myself, we have reservations about starting, putting yourself out there, doing that kind of thing. And I still have that to this day with stuff. I'm learning to just kind of ignore it, put it off to the side, but it takes time or experiences like you've had. So that's something really neat to uh that you have. It's almost like a superpower, honestly. It's just like I'm just gonna put myself out there, not care. If I look silly, I look silly. Big deal. Everyone looks silly, and that's we can internalize that we can at least make it conscious, but to act on it, completely different animal. So it's a wonderful thing that you're able to just jump on that thing. Like let's see where this goes. Let's
Right.
see.
I mean, public speaking was my that's everybody's number one fear. I think that's the only
It
thing I
used to be
failed
mine.
was
Used to be
was
mine.
uh, speech class. But once you get going, you're just talking to people,
Yeah, you are.
and the experience, that's my mission. That's my purpose is to tell people. And when I get that last person informed, I get to go home.
The last one. Everyone will be informed at that
I
point in
know, and
time.
I'm out of here.
So how often are you doing talks?
I try and keep it down. It can get out of control. So
Oh, sure, sure.
two a day's hard, and then
Oh,
if you do that,
yeah.
yeah, 5 a week, I think. And I said no. I've had a couple of times I've had to take, a couple weeks off.
Yeah.
I took a month in the last.
I don't blame you. I mean,
Yeah, it's well, you got a life too, and
yeah, you
I've got
gotta
a
live.
mom with dementia that I have to go, and I get to go see. I just got back from seeing
Yeah.
her in California, and then,
Mm,
you know, uh, it in the book, doing the book, and then
that's awesome.
friends and holidays and stuff. I'm still just a person, but
Yeah. Yeah. Still
but I
experiencing
love
life.
what I do. I love
That's
meeting you.
awesome.
I love
Yeah.
meeting the people who are watching your program. I love
Yeah.
telling people, don't worry about it. It's
Yeah.
all good. You're here for a reason. You planned your life.
Yeah.
It's all planned out. You can't mess it up. You can't mess it
Well,
up.
that's
And when you
good.
get home, everybody's there to greet you. Your
Everyone's
pets are
good.
there. It's fun. It's
Cool.
it's really cool.
That's
So the
awesome.
hard
That's
part's being here.
the hard part. That's
Because
a
we get this
fact.
mind wipe when we come down. Makes you so mad. You knew it, and then whoosh, it's
Yeah.
like against the rules. But
Oh,
it's
that's
kind of
so
cheating
crazy.
here when I get to tell people,
You got a glimpse around the veil
yeah,
there.
but
Yeah.
look behind the curtain.
Yeah, you got to see Oz for a second and see what's going
I've
on
seen
back
that a
there.
couple of times more going, aha, it means a
Yeah.
lot more to me now, I'll
It,
tell you.
it really does when you think of a lot of symbolism
Yeah.
in book writing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask you just because I don't know in your title, Misfit in Hell to Heaven Expat. I don't know what the term expat means.
Okay,
What is
expat is
that?
an expatriate.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And usually, you're okay, you're living in California and you get a job and you got to go to Africa and you got to
Yeah.
open, a Burger King or something, and you're going to
Yeah.
be there for 2 years. You're an expat. And generally, if you're in a company, a place that has companies, they have the place that they go. All the expats go to a certain bar or something, and they can speak English, and they can, But then when they get their work done, they go home. So, but
Okay.
while you're there, you're an expat. We all start in heaven. We
Uh-huh.
come down here, we do our work,
Oh,
and then we go
okay.
home.
So we're expat on Earth. We're going back home after
You
everything's done here.
betcha.
Okay. I've never heard that term, or maybe if I have and I just never gave it any
Yeah,
thought, but I wanted to
yeah. And
ask
the
about
misfit in
that.
hell is every time they tried to tell me to do something, these horrible tasks and stuff, I'd say no. And they say, okay, it's just gonna get worse. But so yeah, a lot, when you get back, you still got this voice. It's like this little conscience thing. You
Yes.
usually feel you're like, I shouldn't really be doing this. But
Yeah.
when you get back, it's loud, and that's really loud. And so it tells you things. And at first, it's, oh God, I'm schizophrenic. No, but once you meet these other people, it's the voice. You'll get used to it,
Yeah.
and it gives you strong suggestions. And the book title, I says, it's going to be too long. That's what it's going to be. Okay.
Hmm.
Going to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
in hell to have an expat. I'll have to explain this to people. That's part of the deal, Kath. Okay.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Yes. How
Yeah.
long is the book? Just curious. How long
I
did
don't
you?
know. It's this. I wrote in
It's thick.
big
Yeah.
print,
Oh, good.
and short chapters, and it's about my life from the beginning to what happened, and then after.
Yeah.
Very interesting, crazy family. But we all need to know, you know, we need to know where we came from. We need to know what the souls that are have set us up for. Because when we're here, a lot of times we're here to clear out some of the crap they did.
Ain't that the
Thanks a
truth?
lot, Grandma.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of complicated. But anyway, that I had to go back and tell people why I
Yeah.
am who I am, and I've got a good sense of humor, and so does my family. So
It's good.
it's not a downer book at all.
No.
It's light.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you'll have your experiences, which are definitely, whoa,
Yeah,
how do I interpret this? Just read it and it'll,
just keep going,
just keep
just like I
going.
did. Just keep going,
Just
one foot in
keep
front of the
going
other.
through. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
you'll get
something I'm
out.
curious
Yeah,
about, and we won't have an answer to it because it's, been 20 years since, but it would
yeah.
be interesting, if during those experiences you hadn't done the being a misfit, if you had just complied, would that have basically been like, okay, well, I'm punching my ticket now. See you
And I'll just
later,
stay here.
and just
Yeah.
stay here and then take your licks,
I
or
guess that's why I just don't, I'm a survivor, and I don't like people telling me what to do, and
I'm into that.
I don't work well with others, so I had my own business. I'm a strong soul, and so them telling me what to do was not in my head. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that's yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Well, I mean, are you someone who does work well with others, but the other people have to be, actually common courtesy and on your level, have some grit to them too. It can't just be weak folks who are trying to push you around. That's I think that's a
No, no,
level of
no, no.
strength there
So
too.
I'm now at the Gig Harbor Senior Center, and I love it because
Yeah.
there's all kinds of people. But
Yeah.
I've been told several times in the year I've been there that the vibe has changed there. People are nicer to each other. We do
Really?
hugs now. Um, it's been a good influence, and this is a good place for me to be because these, people like me with one foot in a grave. I'm 78. My mom's 97, still hanging around, but I keep telling
Wow.
her to just go,
Just
go. And
just
Dad,
go.
it's a party,
Yeah.
Mom. All your friends are waiting.
I think your
Um,
brain's probably already there. Dementia is just one of
oh
those
yeah,
things.
dementia sucks. I'm
It's so
telling
bad. My
you.
wife's grandmother's in the same position. We're
Oh,
just like, we love you, but it's just rest.
time to
Like
go.
time to
Yeah,
go. Yeah.
you'll be happy. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is about that. Well, that human thing about not wanting to die. There's a fear. The religions have just pounded
Yeah.
fear into us. It's
That's a
just
good point.
painful.
Yeah. I kind of equate it to like, if you've ever bungee jumped or skydived or jumped off of anything tall into water, it's like that first step and the feeling that gravity takes you is just terrifying. And then the
Yes,
moment you start falling, you realize this is actually really fun.
this is wee.
Yeah, so it's just that first that first step. Someone's got
Yeah.
to kind of just, yeah, shove you over. Yeah, anyway, but we talk about life and death. That's a little more
Well,
philosophical.
but when you go, there's a minimum of one person that comes to get you, and there's usually, three or four. If the hospice people, I love it. Almost all of us, when we come back, we go work for hospice. I'm so jealous. I just had to, you get to die, and I'm stuck here. And they go, what? I was great. I would talk to them about what was on their way, and they say, oh wow, they'd get all ready, and it changed how they felt. But anyway, yeah,
Uh,
it's been interesting.
yeah.
But I know my dad, when he was getting ready to go, he was the only one that would listen to my story. The rest of the family just thought I'd gone to hell, really. And they kept saying, I don't know. She seemed like such a nice person, you know? It's
Well,
like,
right. I
but Dad said, "Tell me, I need to hear the end of this. What? Why were you really there?" So he was, when he was ready to go, COVID got him, and he
uh
was he was also 97. This is 4 years ago. I kept
wow.
telling him, "Dad, is going to be great, and there'll be a couple people to come get you, and if you can, let me know, okay? Who got you?" So after he died. It was funny. They said he was kind of struggling with his breath and everything, and all of a sudden he stopped and he looked up in the corner of the room. That's where they usually come in. And he got this huge grin on his face. And they said his face was glowing. And he just closed his eyes and left. And I
Hmm.
says, yeah, somebody came to get him. So the gal who did my publishing is a medium. And
Oh,
we were talking about something about the book, blah, blah, blah. And all of a
yeah.
sudden she goes, oh, your dad's here. And I said, what? She says, oh, yeah, he's right here. And he said to tell you, and she asked a couple of questions. It was his mom and his sister.
Hmm.
He got away to tell
Yeah.
you. That's who came to get him. Yeah, so
That's
you don't
so
go
neat.
alone. Nobody dies alone. They come and get you.
That's good. That's awesome. Makes it feel a little better about it. If everyone dies alone, it's like, well, I mean, it doesn't sound like it.
No, no,
If
no.
you
And if
follow
you've got
the,
pets, they'll show up too. So
oh gosh, I got a few of those.
I know, won't it be fun? Yeah, there's a whole gang of dogs following you around.
Yeah, a lot of dogs. So many dogs. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah,
My
but they're
gosh.
happy. You're happy, you know.
Yeah, everyone's there enjoying themselves. Yeah,
Yeah,
like a big old party,
it
holiday
is.
party, just never
Definitely a
ending.
party.
That'd be awesome. So you said you got good feedback. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Reviews like crazy, I imagine.
Yeah, quite a few.
That's
It's
good.
it's helpful on Amazon, particularly if people
Yeah,
take 2 minutes and just
yeah,
put a couple stars or a review. They're really tough
something.
to get, and it
They are.
encourages people to to read it because it sounds like a scary book, but it's not.
Yeah, it does when you first look like, oh my, but
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know about hell, but it's the good news about
it,
hell.
oh,
There is no hell.
it's the good news. There's some good news. Yeah, it
Okay.
almost sounds like here is that way. But well, anyway, I think people are probably going to be curious as to where to get Misfit in Hell to Heaven Expat. So where
Uh-huh.
can they get a hold of it? Where can they find you? Or
Well, it's at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any place you get books. If you're in Gig Harbor, we've got the Barbecue to You downtown.
Mhm,
That's got a nice place for authors, and they keep the books there.
they do.
Um, where else? Oh, my website is the same as my book, so it's www.misfit and hell, blah blah blah. You can
Nice.
find out about me and other things, and also order books there.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate you being on your program.
Yeah, Kathy, thank you so much for coming. I did not know what to expect. So
Uh-huh.
this was definitely a fun chat and I'm just kind of got to sit back and enjoy the story for a little bit, going, where is this going? But it was a great conversation. So I really appreciate you coming on,
Yeah,
taking an hour out of your day, busy day with, talking to people about all your experiences. So thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
you're welcome. Okay, well, send me a link and I'll
Oh, I will.
get it
I will
out
do
there for
that.
you.
I
You take
will.
care.
All right, you too.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks so much. All right, everybody. I
Bye.
hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed this. And as always, stay mighty and keep reading.